And the first question is to Commissioner Hogarth, and it comes from Donna Judd.
Mr. Hogarth, what infrastructure improvements should the city be considering for the present and the future?
Pretty much what we're doing right now. Water, we see the need for another well. We had a site picked for it, and I'm not sure what the problem was, but it didn't work out, so we're looking for another site to drill that well. We have adequate water supply now, but we just want to stay one step ahead of the game. The sewer system has infiltration, I believe I'm saying that right, which is the storm water, when we have a lot of rain, gets into the sewer system. Now, bear in mind, the sewer system and the water system are not crossed somewhere, so that's not why the water tastes funny sometimes. But anyways, the cameras have pretty much covered the whole system now. The cameras show you the bad places in the system. There is a plan to remedy all of the problems that is before the DEQ, I believe it is, in Oklahoma City. The last word that we had, it hadn't been approved yet, but it's like a 5-year plan that we'll do so much each year and improve that. Any other part of the infrastructure you want to ask about? That's pretty much it.
Do I have to wait 7 seconds?
One thing, the biggest problem, and I'm out of time, but I'm going to say it anyway, the biggest problem that they have found in the sewer system is taps that were put in incorrectly. They're sticking down in there and obstructing and causes plugging. So they go in there with a rotor-rooter type thing and clean that out. So there's been a lot of that going on. So anyway.
Well, thank God it wasn't an alligator or something like that. The infrastructure, Jim's exactly right. You got to remember that our city is it's an older city, and even if you take I'll use my father as an example. My father just turned 70 in January. My father's got 2 brand new knees. They want to do an operation on his back, which he doesn't want to do, and they want to do an operation on his ear, which he doesn't do. Now, when I was a young man, my dad had great knees. He was an athlete. He was a singer. He still sings, even though he can't hear out of one ear. He was a gospel singer in a gospel quartet, and he didn't have back problems. But what happens over time, things deteriorate, and things need to get fixed. Now, you can't fix everything all at once, otherwise the whole city would be torn up. But like Jim said, they've inspected the sewer lines, and they're finding those places that need fixed. But eventually, everything's going to need to be replaced. One of the things that the commission is working on now, thankfully, are the roads. I rode from Linwood to the ag parking lot the other day, and I counted 11 semis. 11. Carrying anything from rocks to pipes to oil to whatever. 11 of them going up and down our streets. Well, that's going to cause wear and tear. So we need to make sure our streets are up to what they need to be to handle all this traffic that we happen to have right now, and hopefully handle whatever traffic we can gather in the future. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Don first for this one.
Yeah.
City Commission
State your name, please.
My name is Jim Perry.
Thank you, Jim Perry.
The City Commission, state your name, please.
I'm Don Amon.
The City Commission has authorized the creation of an advisory committee to provide recommendations regarding Cushing Lake. Nothing has transpired. What are your thoughts about the betterment of Cushing Lake?
Wow, that's an interesting question. And it just so happens that the other day I was talking to a citizen about Cushing Lake. And I actually had talked to 3 or 4 citizens about Cushing Lake. That was what they brought up to me. One is that it's not our water source anymore. Our drinking water doesn't come from that. So the question is, what do we do with the lake? When he asked me, what are you going to do with the lake? My first response was, I'm going to pray that there's water in it. Because if you remember a couple of summers ago, there was no water in the lake. It was really, really low. And one thing is that that's a question that you're going to have to take to the people, I think, at some point in time. What do we want to do with the lake? Water is going to be a viable source at some point in time in our life. How do you know that? T. Boone Pickens was a billionaire, and he's trying to get water from West Texas to Dallas. If he's trying to move water, water's going to be important, I can guarantee you that. But what's it going to mean to Cushing? Do we need to spend a whole bunch of money going out there and doing some type of test or anything like that? I don't see that at this time. I think there's stuff within the city that we need to take care of first, and then the lake can be a project that comes on later. I also wouldn't be opposed to having some type of a development out at the lake, or sell it off to some type of a developer that wants to put whatever out there, develop it however we want, cabins, fishing, whatever. We can make it a nice place for people to want to come. Thank you.
Very good job.
I'm out, Jim.
Cushing City Lake is a potential source of water, and if I had been on the commission at the time that they drilled the wells and changed over, they would have never taken out the filtering system that was out there. They could have improved it. We would still have water potential coming from the lake. What we have done, though, is depend on the wells, and the wells are doing quite well. They're handling the needs, but that's there if and when we need it. Another thing in regards to the city water system is to tie into the line coming down, or lay a new line from Lone Chimney Lake, and that would give us another backup. What was the question again? Could you repeat that? So,
What are your thoughts for the betterment of Cushing Lake?
just betterment of the city lake. City Lake has been bettered quite a bit already, because as probably everybody knows, there's an oil well that goes down underneath and goes all the way underneath the city lake for about a mile. And as a commission, we have asked that a lot of work be done cleaning up. And if you haven't been out there lately, you ought to go out and look. They have really done a fabulous job of cleaning it up. I'd like to see some new bathrooms out there. To me, that's about the one sore point that's still left out there. Bingo.
Mr. Hograve,
Yes.
how do you propose attracting new retail, restaurants, and entertainment businesses to expand the local economy and increase revenue for the city?
I think they're coming already. If you drive up and down Main Street and look, there's all kinds of new businesses. A friend of mine at Continental Construction told me a while back that about every week they get somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 people contacting them wanting a place to put some kind of a business. The Long John Silver's won't come because we're not big enough, and Arby's, and that would be my 2 choices if I could choose one, a couple. But I believe your question is, how would we attract them? All they've got to do is come and see this thriving city, all those trucks going up and down Main Street, which I didn't touch on. Don did a good job there. I might just mention on that, and I'm backtracking here, that the city has no control over Highway 33. That is the state. We can go patch the potholes, and that's about the extent of it. We hope to get those corners fixed, and I'm off of the topic that you gave me, but anyways, that needed to be said. I think we're doing a good job with the city lake. It's there if we need it for water in the future, and the recreation is the part I see that's most important now, and I look forward to going out there with the jet skis and playing with my grandkids this summer. I'm done.
Dog, I can go. I'm just looking at the clock, trying to follow the rules. That's a great question. How do we attract new businesses to town? And this is where I think, this is the reason why I'm running. I'm running because I think we need to have a plan. You know, like Jim talked about the lake. When they started digging the wells, we knew we weren't going to use the lake anymore for that water source, and now it might take money to get water here if we need to get it here, and so on and so forth. So someone back then didn't think ahead. We've got to start thinking ahead. Because, and I understand that when we talked about Highway 33, we have nothing to do with that. ODOT has to come in and do all that. But we have other streets that trucks go up and down, and we need to fix those. But how do we get people to come to town? Now is the time where we need to get people to come to town. Now is the time to showcase our town. Because if you take a look around, all these little RV parks that have popped up, those houses are on wheels. And that means they roll. And someday, they're going to be gone. And someday these trucks that roll up and down these streets are going to be gone. What are we going to do? What are we planning to have in place so that when they leave, we can still have a thriving, prosperous community? Maybe we need to get an economic developer. Maybe we need to get an assistant city manager. Maybe we need to get a grant writer. You know, there are some places that Woodward, Oklahoma right now is doing $4 million worth of projects on federal grants, and they've only had to put up 10% as a city. So these are different things that we have the option to do, and that's what we need to look into so that we can attract those businesses to come to town. Thank you.
You mentioned the houses on wheels. The housing shortage in Cushing is well documented. What role should the city play in the development of housing?
Is that the next question? Well, you know, I just so happened that subject came up the other day when I was talking to one of our citizens, and we were talking about the fact that there's kind of a disparity in houses. We either have high-end houses or you have low-end houses. There's no really middle houses, and you know, how big do you want your government to be is what it comes down to. You know, how much do you want the city to be in charge of what someone out in the lay public should do? But there is a need, obviously, because as you said, those houses are on wheels. And so if the city can come up with some way to find a way to create or, you know, finagle some things so that people can build these affordable houses for people that are in middle income people, not necessarily high income or low income people, to come in and stay, then it would be a lot easier for us to attract those businesses we talked about earlier. You want to have a place where people can raise their families and they want to be safe and they want to have all these things, and Cushing is a perfect example of that, but that is a need that needs to be addressed. And my question is, how much government do you want in your life? Does the city have to go through that, or is that something that maybe we need to, again, bring in a developer, maybe we have some type of meeting and so on and so forth, and let them make decisions in that fashion? Jim?
Well, after 20 years, we finally got out from under Fontainebleau. And I don't think the city should be involved in public housing. We don't need to be in the renting of houses or anything like that. But what we are doing, and I won't take credit for this, but what we are doing and trying to do is make it easier for the developers to build a house. And I'd like to go a step or two beyond where we are now, help these developers that are willing to put their money into building the housing for Cushing by giving them some breaks on their services, electric, water, and so forth. To me, we ought to be furnishing that right up there to the edge of their property, and perhaps we are, but I know I hear some pretty sad stories from some of my friends who build houses. There are some new houses going up around town. The city has a plan when we, as a city, demolish the structures that are eyesores, dangerous, whatever you want to call them, then we have a lien on that property. And if someone will come up and offer to build a new house on that property, we forgive those liens so they don't have to live with that. And I think that's probably the main thing the city needs to do, is just to encourage the builders by giving them some breaks and helping them. You know, look what we did for Walmart, look what we did for the new motel here to encourage them. And I think we need to carry that a step or two farther. I'm out of time.